Really appreciate you guys, especially the panel, for doing this. My name's Angela. I'm one of the third year pediatric residents here. If we could just have the panelists introduce themselves. Alexis, you want to start?
Sure. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Alexis. I am a newly second year. It's nice to meet you guys. Thanks so much for joining.
JP.
Hello, everyone. My name is Juan Pablo. I'm a third-year PEDS resident. I'm originally from Bolivia in South America, so for all the Hispanic speakers, happy to answer any questions.
Dr. Perez.
Hey, I'm Paco, attending.
Okay. If you guys have any questions to ask us, just fire away, throw them in the chat, wherever.
Quiet audience.
So, what's your favorite thing about the program? I would say my co-residents. I think we're all pretty supportive of each other. We Most of us try to hang out when we can, and I think that's my favorite part.
I obviously I'm not a resident. I think that I'm glad that Dr. Archer joined, because then I'm not going to be the oldest. So I don't know if Freddy's listening, but I hope he's not. But I don't feel that old anymore.
But you know what, Paco? No, old is growing old is non-negotiable. Growing up is optional.
That's correct. I agree with that. But I want to tell you just a few more things about myself, and I want to let Dr. Archer to introduce himself, and I can maybe answer that question. What is my favorite part about the program? Even that, again, I'm not the resident, but I'm originally from Ecuador. Did all my training and everything in Ecuador, then moved up to Miami for residency, and then from Miami to DC, spent several years in DC. And then I've been here for it's going to be 6 years in January. So again, I can walk you through a little bit about, I'm sure you guys know, how difficult sometimes the path is and so on, but I can answer as many questions as you have. I mean, don't be shy. I wish that you guys, I know that it's not fun to have the camera on, but I love to see people's faces. Because if you see my picture on Zoom, maybe when I used to have 3 earrings, long hair, I don't look like that anymore. But it would be awesome to see, we can, you guys can turn on your camera so we can see who you are and have fun. Go ahead, Fred. It's all you.
All right, so firstly, I do apologize for jumping on late. Let's say life is what happens when you're making other plans. We just have some family things going on here, so I want to make sure, but this is important as well, because this becomes your family when you happen to be someone who is of an unrepresented group or underrepresented group, and actually in some cases unrepresented in medicine and in programs. And I will say, if the question is, what do I like most about the program? Let me back up a little bit. I am a pediatrician for going on 20 some odd years now. I completed my medical school training from Howard University College of Medicine, HU, those that know, they know. Finished there in 2001, completed my pediatric residency here at the Children's Hospital of Buffalo, now the Oshai Children's Hospital. So I was Andrea back in the day. So Andrea, I'm sorry, this is your future. Apologies. And I remember very distinctly when I got here, some of you might have heard the name, there was a provider who had just completed residency, Dr. Jonathan Daniels, and he went on to become a very lauded, and rightfully so, general pediatrician, primary care pediatrician in Buffalo. but he completed his residency right before I started mine. And he told me, jokingly, but also a little seriously, they're only allowed one per class. And ironically, there were two in my class, but there were none above us. So there was no third year, no second year resident for us to kind of look to for guidance to be like, so what's it like kind of being Brown here? And from a faculty standpoint, there was one, Dr. Luther Robinson, who was a geneticist. And he'd been in practice so long that he knew my parents when I was an infant. So I had to, stand up and sit up straight around him all the time. Otherwise he was going to call my mama, and he did. He definitely did. But from a residency standpoint, it is really important to really see at least one other person that kind of, gets it in that way. And the ironic thing is, like I said, there were two people in my class. Betian Sandi, who was from Grenada, was my fellow classmate. But then after us, there was nobody. And then after that, there was one. So they maintained the number of three. And for many, many years, that was kind of where it was. But one thing that I did like, and it started to change when we started to, evolve with our program directors, there was a concerted effort to make sure that it wasn't, we're not just talking African-American, but any folks that were underrepresented in medicine. I actually started seeing more Hispanic residents, which I was just like, ay, Dios mío, that was beautiful, because we hadn't had a lot before. But we had a large population, especially on the west side of Buffalo, that was primarily Hispanic and Spanish speaking. And we know it's different to be Dominican. That does mean Puerto Rican. That does to be Ecuadorian. There's a large difference. And Mexican. Oh my! Don't get that mistake. Don't make that mistake. But also expanding to include folks that from what I call the African diaspora. So we started to get some residents that might have been, at least they're from a family standpoint, from the Caribbean. From different countries in Africa. We started to see, we've traditionally had residents that come from India, but I started to honestly see different parts of India. Okay, we started to expand into areas that we call the Middle East, but that's a little bit of a colonial term when you really think about it. Middle Eastern relative to who? So we're really trying, I've noticed a concerted effort by the program to make sure that the residency class looks like the people they're taking care of. And that's something I actually have witnessed over the past 20 years. It has gotten more like that. And from a faculty standpoint too. After Dr. Robinson left the faculty, it was me for like ever. And now actually, I'm very glad to say Dr. Kendrea Hall is on staff. We've got Dr. Paco Perez on staff. We have been expanding the staff to make sure that it also represents and looks like not only the patients we're taking care of, but the residents that we're training. So that's a long-winded answer to say, we're getting better. But it takes there being folks in these spaces to open up the door so that when people do come in for interviews, they're like, oh, okay. And not just that, they wheel me out. It's like, oh, and here's one. Oh, let's wheel out Dr. Archer. Like, no, you just see them in passing in the hallways handling their business, because that's what we do. So that's my 2 cents. Never give me a floor, because I will keep talking. See, why are you laughing, Buckley? Why are you laughing? Because it's true.
I can I can answer that question next. So I will be very honest. So my husband is Canadian, and so I always knew that I wanted to match at Buffalo because I wanted to be close to him, and knowing that we're going to start a family and everything. And so once I had my interview, it was completely sealed. I absolutely loved the people. The experience, like during my interview, was just such an amazing time, and just learning about the fellowship opportunities that I'm interested in also just sealed the deal for me. But one of the biggest things that I also did look for, so I went to I'm a US IMG. I went to a Caribbean medical school. And so one thing that I really did, aside from looking at which programs accept IMGs, I also looked at like how many people in the class look like me. And I only saw 2. It was Andrea, and then it was Aisha, and Aisha graduated. And so I know that, even though we might not walk around and say, okay, this thing is what we wear like on our shoulders, but it really is important for us to like see people who look like us, to know that we'll be able to have relatable people, in our experiences. Like pediatric residency is really, really tough, and it's 3 long years. And so you want to be able to, be bumping shoulders with people who just really understand. And honestly, like my favorite thing, and I know it just sounds, even in interviews or when you're talking to people, everyone is like, why does everyone keep saying the people? But it really does make a huge difference. The people for me are like my favorite thing about the program. Like not only my co-residents and my seniors and then now the interns, but also the attendants, the like physicians that we get to work with. I felt pretty comfortable in the spaces here, pretty comfortable learning, feeling very safe to like make mistakes and to just like try and mess up and try again, and I feel supported. And so I think like that's my favorite thing about the program. It's the people.
I'm just glad they let me graduate the program.
I guess I can answer that question too. My perspective about the program when I interview, and now that I'm here, I'm third year already. So uh, this program is very, it gives you a lot of opportunities for different things or pathways you might be interested. There's a huge research, a lot of research going on. Dr. Perez's strong research in pulmonology, a lot of advocacy, Dr. Archer, Dr. Bentry, the clinics we serve, Dr. Archer described already. There a lot of room for advocacy for our patients. There's also a lot of opportunity for fellowships in this program. So we have our own fellowships, new fellowship now, the pulmonology department just released. So it's going to be another fellowship that as a pediatricians we might be able to do here in Buffalo. So I think the program is being growing in different aspects, and also the strong support of our attendings in the clinic part, a strong ED. We get patients from the whole Western New York area. The other children's hospital, I think, is Rochester and then UPMC. So there's no other children's hospitals in the area. So really, you get to see a lot of different things, a lot of pathologies, traumas, and just the clinical experience is very broad. So I think the program in that sense is strong. We have a hospital floor, 3 floors, EMONC, multiple specialties. We have our own specialties in the Conventus building, probably it's just across the medical school, which most of the clinics and specialties are. I don't know if we're like we don't have any specialty. Dr. Archer or Dr. Perez can correct me, but we probably have most of the specialties here. We don't need to refer our kids to anywhere else unless there's like, I don't know, transplant kids or like high level of acuity or things that we need for our kids. Otherwise, we can just handle and have our patients being follow up here in the children's hospital. So I think this program is strong, and we have seen our seniors graduating and going to their fellowships they apply to the programs they want to. Of course, if they want to stay, they stay too. So I think our program is getting stronger every year, and I'm sure for you guys when your time comes to apply, it's gonna be even better. So you'll have friends like think like you, look like you, and that's I think the most important part of the program because basically you live in the hospital the 3 years of the residency. So you get to hang out with the co-residents. But also it's very important to have a good support system, families, your loved ones who can take care of you in moments when you're like just very tired of working. But I think the support we have in the hospital from our attendings as well is very important. So I think that's all I like about this program, and I'm very happy to be here.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Miriam. I just have a small question following up on what you were saying. What are the research opportunities that are usually offered for residents?
It depends. Sorry, I'm just asking. It depends on your research focus. For example, I was very interested in simulation. So I did a couple of projects in terms of simulation with the ED attendings, for example, because I felt that they were strong doing simulations. We would have simulation sessions as a residents every 5 weeks. So I did a couple of research projects with them, and it was like amazing. I felt very supported. They were always willing to help and try to complete the projects. Also, as a part of the residency, everyone has to do a QI project or a research project for graduation. So by default, you will need to do research. And again, if you're interested in pulmonology, if you're interested in endocrinology, EMONC, I would say all of the specialties have their own research projects ongoing, and also are willing to start new projects. So it's gonna depend on you what's your focus and what you want to do. Propose it, and I'm sure you'll have the support and the resources to do the projects you want to do.
And are we given any opportunities to go to conferences?
Yes, definitely. If you have an abstract project you completed, actually, I'm going to the American Academy of Pediatrics conference in September in Denver to present an abstract. It's now the residency program. This is new for the residents. We get $2,000 for conferences or educational purposes. So I'll be using those $2,000 to travel and stay for my presentation in the conference. So you will be getting $2,000 each year. If you want to buy a laptop, you can buy a laptop. If you want to travel to a conference, you can use for travel purposes and stuff. So
You cannot.
that's also another thing.
I tried that.
Marian, there are opportunities for like residents to get involved in research, depending on what you're looking for, right? So the tricky part, unless you have already background and you know exactly what you want to do, is like always to try to understand what kind of research, and there is different types of research. But there are many opportunities to get involved again in like either clinical research, maybe some more translational research, or quality improvement initiatives. I think that the record, if I will be on your side and I will be talking to myself, I think that you want to see in a program is to see like that resident track record, not only maybe writing or going for like an abstract presentation, but then what happens afterwards, which ideally will be a publication, and hopefully that will help you again. Your next step is to do a fellowship and so on. That's going to be helpful. And I think that yes, we do have that. So we do have that, like with almost every subspecialty. You want to work with the NICU, the PICU, POLM, or anything that, depending on your area of interest, yes, you will have that. Obviously, like, remember that in residency, you're busy. That's what is called residency. So it's like a little bit of like an extra work, and it depends on obviously what you want to do and how much you want to accomplish. So you want to do research, you will have like areas, and you will have like, you know, your lectures and everything and so on, about like UI and stuff like that. But then it requires like how much else you want to do, that extra effort. And then if you have that extra effort, again, like everybody's going to be like on your back, like pushing you and trying to like help you to accomplish anything that you want. And even again, like for like as JP was mentioning about like, yes, you can go to a conference if you're presenting an abstract, if you're presenting your research work, and there is a process and everything for applications and so on that we can walk you through, or your program director can walk you through like how things work. And this is similar than in other places. I think that what it makes a difference again is that track record of seeing like how many residents they've been able to present at conferences, how many residents have been able to like finally after an abstract, then you develop like a paper and you have like something that is published, which I think is the key.
Thank you so much, both.
Maybe again, everybody's quiet. I want to bring up something that Alexis mentioned that, and everybody mentions about like being a resident and the connections that you make and where you go. Like honestly, like you need to look at like even just doing this, like organizing this shows what we're trying to make a difference. Not every program will do something like this. I mean, it's not just today. I think that this is happening again tomorrow, I believe, right? Or there's another date, or I might be confused, but it's just again that it's showing like how much your residents, co-residents are like putting an effort to like organize this. So your core residents are gonna be your family. I miss to be a resident, to be honest with you, even that yes, you were underpaid, yes, you were overworked, yes, you were tired, but having those lunch, like breakfast in the morning that we overate because we were so tired and we were having fun, and then like even being very sleepy and hanging out in the residence room, I miss all of those days. I mean, I think I have more stress about like all of the administrative stuff that I need to do now, but as a resident, it was very fun. I still like talk to my core residents at that time, would try to like organize meetings and just to, to see who's losing more hair than other ones and how things are going and so on. And residency is fun. So I think that you need to look for like a residency program where you can see that your residents are happy. Obviously, it's like work hard, but play hard. Like they are going to be your family for 3 years. If you get sick, somebody's going to cover you. You're going to go for an interview, who might need to cover you or not. And like there's a lot of stuff, like when you have like 15 admissions, who's going to help you with the 16? Who's going to be like there, like getting you like coffee, or maybe like, did you eat or do you have dinner? Is going to bring something for you. And I think that makes a difference. And as an outsider from like the residents, I do see them doing that. I mean, they take care of each other, and I think that makes a difference.
All right, thank you, everyone. Good evening, everyone. My name is Omo. I'm ECFMG certified IMG, originally from Nigeria, now working in England. And I'm happy to be here amongst you guys today just to get genuine insights about what it is to be in the program. It's been a wonderful session, and I'm glad to meet everyone. My question borders on the initial introduction and induction for IMGs. I just want to know if the program has any form of introduction or induction for IMGs to help them settle into the system and help them get familiar with a new working environment. The first few weeks can be really tough for IMGs because you have to organize your visas, get your I-94 settled, get your social security number. I just want to know if there's any form of support or any form of process to help IMGs get settled in when they get to the program. Thank you.
I think I can answer that question since I'm also a MEG. The another beautiful thing about the program is that we are affiliated to the Jacobs School of Medicine. So we have a strong partnership with them, the School of Medicine. And the School of Medicine has the GME department. which as soon as you get matched to our program, they reach out to you explaining all of this process, how it's going to look like, what do they need from you, all the paperwork that you have to do. So they're on you because they have to make sure you're going to be here on time with all your documentation, paperwork, visa, everything ready to start on the day you have to start. So, and they do a great job. That's part of the process, the documentation, visas, on all of this, all those things that probably you might need to do. But also you will have, you will be in contact as soon as you match, you will be in contact with the director, with the chiefs that are going to explain to you what's the process going to look like in terms of orientation and possible schedule. You're going to be knowing your schedule ahead of time, well, for like the first year. Other important things, you'll have us because once you match, you already be in contact with the current residents, so that if you have any questions in regards, for example, we have our own Omo. She's from Nigeria. She lives in Canada. We call
Okay.
her Omo. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the name is
For
Omo as
example,
well.
her name is Omo Denagi. Something like that if I'm pronouncing wrong, but we call her Omo.
Okay.
So, for example, I imagine she's gonna be a great value for you to ask her questions in terms of, I don't know, different questions you might have. But so yeah, you have the opportunity to be in contact with us, residents who probably share the same interest or the same background in terms of I don't know, countries or things like that. So you will have the opportunity to ask questions or just, you know, basic questions: where to live, right? So in Buffalo, do I need to drive a car in Buffalo? How's the winter in Buffalo? So how to get prepared in Buffalo for the winter. So you will have a strong support behind you for different things you might need to go once you know you match here. And I think that's important. Again, you'll have all these resources and support system since day one when you match here. So that was my experience. It was very smooth. I didn't have any issues. Everything was on time. Everybody was very supportive. Provided a lot of information so that I can transition to the residency here in the US easily.
Yes, thank you so much for that, Dr. Jardine. That's very reassuring. I'm happy to hear that and to know that.
So there is the Jacobs School of Medicine also has like it's called an acculturation toolkit that they develop. So you could have access to that. That is going to walk you through, like, you know, as exactly as you say, what is the difference in the system. So I went through the same thing. It's not easy. Especially you have not done any rotations like myself when I moved to the US, or what, like I didn't do anything before I moved to residence. So it is not easy, but again, one of the key things is just make sure that you have a program where other people went through what you will be going through, right? Like having access to talk to some people to understand where you're coming from and having that support. And I think that we do a pretty good job on that.
Yeah, thank you for that.
On the clinical part, the attendings are very flexible and very open. They know where you're coming from, and they're very supportive. I also probably struggled the first months in residency the first year, just because even if I was doing research here in the US and doing some rotations, once you get to work as a resident here, it's totally different. You will have some issues, but the most important is that you will have the support of the attendings, and they will understand you and they will give you the support you need, so that in the next couple of months you're able to catch up and then just strive from there. So yeah, that's amazing. The support we get from the attendings.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Dr. Perez is incredibly supportive. I am not sure about that Archer guy. That he's still a little sus. Still a little sus. The one thing I always like to tell, you know, aspiring, you know, applicants, you know, existing residents, and even you know, attendings when we sometimes talk, is just the reminder that you belong there. If you're there, you belong there. And no one can make you feel uncomfortable unless you choose to let them. And so that is where you do look for that support network. But sometimes it is good to remind yourself, this is where I'm supposed to be. And if other folks have a problem, that's a them problem, not a me problem. Because my patients want to see me and I want to see them. And there's a lot of folks that came before you, and your job is to open up the door for the next person that comes after you. Maybe keep it open to crack for the next 2 or 3. Okay? Because that's just how it should be. It should not be the exception. It should just be, well, we're here. There you go. And we're going to bring some good food to the potluck. And you may not have had some jollof rice, but you will enjoy it. And you're going to, we're going to have it mixed up with something else, and everyone's going to have a good time. But I really strongly believe in that no matter what program you end up in, you deserve to be there, you belong there, and you're going to make it better just by your presence. That's just me being the old guy here. I love seeing all of this because it's come a long way from when I came through. So, and Paco, I want to, when you said like you still talk to your old colleagues, I still have 2 of them working over at Children's. It's amazing. Michelle over at Robert Warner, she and I were classmates. We went through the NICU together as like boot camp. So if anyone talks bad about her, we gonna throw hands. We're gonna throw hands.
Thank you, Dr. Archer.
Just a filler question for the panel. Favorite thing about Buffalo?
I mean, my wife is here, so that's a big one.
The very long winters. No, I'm just kidding. Summer. I love summer.
I mean, it's cliche to say the people, but Buffalo is known as the city of good neighbors, and it's for a reason. At the end of the day, everybody gets along with each other on some level. And when, Paco jokes about the winters here, yes, it's been a joke for centuries that Buffalo is a place with a lot of snow, a lot of ice and all that. But you see that city of good neighbors happen when we get that snow. And we've recently experienced these things where, we got a crazy amount of snow dumped on us, which was surprising even for us. And the amount of stories you heard coming out about neighbors helping neighbors it stopped becoming the exception and just became the rule. It was so bad, areas downtown, people were trying to walk to their home, got lost in the snow, and people took them in. Just took them in for a day or 2 just because. People helping to move a car out the way, like out of nowhere, 3 or 4 people to show up to help move a car out of the way. You will hear that. When we got snowed in over at Millard Suburban, which was really special, I was trapped over in the hospital for 3 days, and everyone just bonded together. Especially to make sure that the patients were all right. But that's something that is, I know that every city says that, but I've never experienced it like, and I'm from Buffalo, and so it's kind of expected. But when I see us doing that to folks that are not from here, just like, come on in. You're here, melt along with us. It'll be great. By the way, have a beer. Here's a Josh Allen shirt. You'll be fine. Yeah, that's another thing. We don't really say goodbye. We just say go Bills. You don't have to be a Bills fan, but you have to say go Bills. See, I'll actually want to hear from Dr. Buckley and Dr. Jaldine what their favorite thing about their new home is.
Buffalo Bills. The Bills for sure. I hated the
Well
winter,
played, sir. Well played.
but the winters here are so amazing because it's football season, and this city just is very passionate about the Bills. I'm a fan, so I cannot wait for the winter to come here and the football season to start. So it's amazing. Yeah, I love that.
I'm not a sports fan. Um, I'm from Philly, and the Eagles are pretty big, and I just never thought that I would ever meet any other people on earth who love their sports team more than the Eagles fans. And these Bill fans, yeah, they just take the cake. But what I really love about Buffalo, it's a city, and it's a pretty nice sized city, but I don't feel overwhelmed by it like I would in Philly. So I really love that, and it's close to the border. It's close to my husband, so that's a win.
What about you, our amazing host, Dr. Dwaka? What is your favorite thing about your hometown? You thought you were going to escape. I am so sorry. That's the other thing. The attendings will call you out.
Yeah, they'll call you out. I love when my attendings call me out. Um, I would have to say I'm a pretty big like theater person. I mean, not as big as I could be, but I do love going to Shays, and there's like a theater downtown. They have a lot of like good like Broadway shows, so I love doing that in my free time when I have a chance. I do enjoy the Bills. I was converted a couple years ago, so go Bills. Um, and I think there's a lot of like hidden gems in Buffalo that you kind of like you can go visit. Like there's good places for food, there's good places to go grab a drink, there's good places to go hiking if you're like into hiking. There's just a lot of good hidden gems in the city, which is really great.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Reddy from India. My question is, what are the things you look for in an applicant? Like, are there any specific traits or skills or experiences you look for in an applicant in the application process?
See, that's a dangerous one. Only because all of us in some fashion are involved in the review of that. One thing I actually like about our program is that the residents are involved in the interview process. And it's not just because, hey, we need some extra bodies to interview. It's because these are going to be future colleagues. These are going to be future classmates. And so I actually can say your relatability, your sense of self, dare I say sense of humor, but that's not, a number one, but your self-confidence, your ability to handle what is thrown at you. And it's not just your metrics. I mean, you got this far, you got through med school. Everybody knows your grades are fine. Okay. We will make sure that you are prepared for when your boards come along. And so I would say someone with an aptitude for learning, someone, if you're talking, and we're talking pediatrics here, you do need to have a love of children. All right. That's just that intangible quality of grace of being able to not only talk about, and here's what's happening with your child's chemotherapy, but do that while you're also discussing Bluey. Okay. And I say that slightly jokingly, but you do have to have that process. I do have to say at some point, an even keel of mind, because you're going to be dealing with parents that are scared. And they're not mean people. They're not bad people. They're scared because there's nothing more precious on the planet to someone than their child. And you need to have a fundamental understanding of that if you're going to come into pediatrics. So someone that has a love of learning, a love of children, a love of wanting to learn more. I honestly think that's something that's very critical with our applicants, our residents here. The learning curve we know is huge in residency, but we want folks that are active learners that really want to get into the nitty gritty. And, I love that we have questions about research, and not because, do you have to do research? Like, no, hey, do you guys have research? You want to learn more. You want to know more about the business that we do here, because you're going to be in it the rest of your life, the next 50, 60 years. You want to enjoy it. And so I think that love of learning is something that I personally look for a whole lot in folks that are applicants here. I'm a little biased because I'm also involved with the medical school application process, which is different than residency. There are different qualities you're kind of looking for. So that love of children, that love of learning, and knowing to not take yourself seriously. Okay, life is a little bit too short to constantly just be like, yeah, it's, you got to laugh at yourself, because your colleagues are going to do it for you no matter what. That helps you get through residency. It's like, bruh, you've been up for 48 hours. You still wearing that? Okay, that's a choice. That's a choice. So those are my 2 cents. The residents and Dr. Perez may have some additional things that they look for in aspiring applicants here. Good question, though.
That's a good question. I agree. That's a very good question. That's a very good question.
Thank you.
I think that again, I mean, something that we all are going to look every program. So if somebody's telling you that we don't look, that they are lying, right? But everybody's going to look at your scores. That is for sure. Everybody's going to look at your CV. So that's a big part of your chunk of the application, right? So that's the first kind of like step, like in your scores, your application, your letters, obviously letters from other people, and so on and so on. They're a very important part of your application. But I think that what it makes a big difference is like when you go to your interview process. And that's exactly what Dr. Archer is actually mentioning right now. How do you make that connection? How do we know that somebody that really wants to come here or do any program? What is that click that you have? How do you interact with the person interviewing you during the process? Again, we're looking for somebody that is eager to learn. I think that every program is going to look into that. But we also were like look for a person that is not only eager to learn, but to be a teammate, like a good, like have like very, very good like skills as like working in teams, right? Like your residence, I say, residence is tough. It's not easy in any country. And you need to have like somebody that is going to work well together. So you're looking at that again, like making sure that you have a good interaction, that you ask good questions, that you look interested. It's just not do it just because you just want a position and then that's it. So we want somebody that, again, that it's hard to tell you exactly how the process works, but now that I've been doing interviews for, I don't know how many years now, we can tell. We can actually tell if somebody's sincere. Like we want somebody that is honest, that you can like, even when, we're doing this via Zoom, which I think that is great because you don't have to travel a lot, but that sometimes you lose that like one-to-one and interaction when you can see more. But we want somebody that is honest, that it really wants to work, that really wants to learn, if that makes sense.
We also look for height. I mean, we have enough short people in the program. We got working on that. Sorry, that humor factor is, everyone tries to be serious, and I am not the serious one. So I don't know why Andrew put me on this call.
I'm gonna talk to Dr. Dan Hauser tomorrow, just to let you know.
And I was actually wondering, I know that we often do have residents involved in the interview process. Juan Pablo, I don't know if you've been able to, because you're the old man on the call here from a resident standpoint. I don't know if you've been involved in any part of the residency process, interviewing when the applicants come in. I know we kind of, we take them out the night before, just, hey, here's what it's like in Buffalo. And Dr. Buckley, you're kind of new here, but they drag people in from all aspects of things. So I'm wondering if you've been involved as well.
We usually do meet and greets over Zoom. So highly recommended to join us. We probably gonna share the dates and stuff in the next weeks or in the next month. So look for those dates. It's gonna be similar Zoom meeting, so we'll all get to know each other. Gonna share important parts of the program. Of course, we'll answer your questions. But I guess what we look for in an applicant in those, or we don't really look for, but we like to see the interaction with the applicants. I think what I think is that you already are probably doctors in other countries. You're applying for a residency position, and medicine, you already passed the steps. You've been through this process already, so or the USMLE process. So what I think it's very important on an applicant is the attitude. the willingness to learn, and also be a team player. Because at the end, we all have strengths and weaknesses, but if we work together as a team, everything just makes or feels easier. So especially working in the hospital, we always work as a group, as a team. We have interns, seniors, attendings, taking care of the patient. So I think those two things to me are very important. Of course, right. Make sure we can trust on you. Yeah. The attitudes that I think is the most important to learn and to show that you can take care of your patients at some point. So maybe Alexis has other things that she looks for or likes to see in an applicant.
No, I totally agree. I think like being relatable, and then also just how open, like we kind of mentioned, when you're on Zoom, it's a little bit more difficult because you don't get that person to person interaction as you would in person, in person, physically. So just like how we interact, like JP mentioned the meet and greets that we have online, like when you do come to those, just trying to interact, trying to ask questions and answer questions, and just giving us a better feel of your personality, because during that times, like, there's no attendance there is not necessarily like a checklist that we're going down. It's just really a meet and greet. And so I usually look for, okay, who can I actually see myself working with in terms of our interaction. And I think like some of the applicants that stood out to me were the ones who laughed, whenever something was funny, or the ones who smiled pretty often, the ones who just really shared a lot more of them outside of the standard, oh, I went here to school and I accomplished this, but the ones who let me into their world, like, oh, I've read 50 books. I'm like, girl, how did you do that? So I think just like being really personable and relatable, and also having like that sense of humor, because you're gonna need it. It's just you're gonna need it. So those are just things that I looked for. Do we have any more questions before we wrap up in a bit?
Only are we going to be doing more of these?
I think there's another one in 2 weeks.
Yeah, because I love it.
Yeah. And I think there's another one in 2 weeks. So we have an Instagram account. So if you want to follow that Instagram account, you can find more information about the second meet and greet, and also the formal application meet and greets, open houses for the residency. And yeah, so we'll happy to answer more questions. Just send us your whatever you need to know or want to know about the program and stuff. So we'll do that. But if not, then I think we're done for tonight.
Yes.
Thank you so much for answering all of our questions.
No
Yeah,
problem.
thank you,
So nice
everyone.
to meet you all.
Yeah, thank you so much for answering our questions. Yeah, I'm happy and glad to meet everyone.
Good to meet you all.
Have a good night.
Good
We
night.
look forward to seeing a lot of you in the future.
Good night. Stay in touch. Bye bye.
Have a good night.